We'll get started in a couple minutes. Just let a few more people trickle in. If you're here already, feel free to drop a note in the chat and let us know what city and what clinic you are joining from. Would love to hear who's with us today.
You can share with us what's your lunch? What's for lunch today? Pizza from yesterday, or mac and cheese, or baguette and lamb.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining at lunchtime for many of you.
They got nothing else to do. They're bored in the clinic.
We have Concordia, Alberta, Canada, Tuscan, Arizona. Very nice.
Cool. What? I'm not seeing that.
In the Q&A there.
I'm in the Q&A. I'm in the chat. Okay.
Frederick, Maryland.
Oh, I went to Arizona. I loved it once.
Normandy, France. Nice. Not far from you, Celine.
Bah oui.
Okay. It's saying chat's disabled. You can drop them in the Q&A and we'll see all of the comments there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't see the Q&A, so I'll leave it all to you to control, our Q&A session.
Yeah, we'll do.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
Okay, great. I know we're presenting at lunchtime, so we can kick things off, and then others can join as they funnel in here. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Mike Rogers, and I am the head of marketing at Digitail. And I'm going to kick things off today and then hand over to Dr. Selene, who's our guest speaker and will be leading the discussion today. We're really excited for today's discussion because we're tackling an important but often overlooked topic, and that is how veterinarians can help prevent risks linked to pentobarbital. The drug, of course, most commonly used for euthanasia. So our goal is for you to walk away from this session not just with an extra CE credit, but with some really clear understanding of the risks linked to pentobarbital, and some of the latest research and insights which Dr. Selene has pulled forward, as well as some practical takeaways on how to mitigate and manage those risks. So we'll have a Q&A at the end of the session. Feel free to drop questions in the Q&A. I realize that the chat is disabled, but the Q&A should still work here. So you can drop those. I'll gather them and then share them with Dr. Selene at the end of the session. And to guide us through this, we're very fortunate to have Dr. Selene join us. Dr. Selene has been in practice for over 20 years now and is the CEO of EuthaBag, which she'll tell you more about in a moment. And she's dedicated much of her career to addressing one of the toughest aspects of veterinary medicine, euthanasia and aftercare. So I think what you'll find especially valuable today is her balance of both compassion and practical solutions. So with that, thank you again for joining us, and I'm delighted to hand things over to Dr. Selene.
Thank you, Mike, Michelle. So let's get going. So 3 things we're going to cover: just the pentobarbital toxicosis data and environmental contamination that I found for you. AVMA companion animal aftercare policy, I suppose for most of you, something you've never ran into, and how to provide responsible home burial. Real quick, my story. I'm one of those. I wanted to be a vet when I was 8 years old. That's me with my first rabbit. That turned out to be 12 rabbits the next morning. She was pregnant. And it was my child's dream and my commitment to pets and animal and people. And when I got thrown in practice, I faced the harsh reality of having to put a beloved pet in a garbage bag. And, you know, to me, that bond with animals was so crucial and sacred that it really hit me hard. And after probably 10 years in practice, I'm just like, I just can't do this anymore. It's not me. It's not my child's dream. I need something proper to respect the trust people put in me. So couldn't find a product on the market. I checked everywhere in Italy, Japan, US. I'm like, hey, typical vet. I'm just gonna design it. You know, I don't know how to do this surgery. I'll just look it up and you know, do that. And I got myself into that journey of designing a body bag. And the team at EuthaBag, full on vet team, 3 vets on board, actually 4 now, 3 vet techs and 2 pet lovers. So we are really here, guys, to make the euthanasia experience better, because I experience how hard it is when you navigate it without any education or tools on hand. So I'm just there to pass it on and make vet medicine a little better, making us navigate end of life more easily. So that's I had to share that as our new tagline. All pets go to heaven, they shouldn't arrive in a plastic bag. So and then also wanted to share that you know, for years I've wondered, you know, people ask us for crazy things after euthanasia, and you know, you've seen it all. They want a piece of something, or they want to put something in the body, or they want to take a picture, and they're like, is that really worth any, you know, why do people do that? And humans have done rituals around death forever. And I just happened to run into a study done by Harvard Business School, and that gave a lot of value to it, that actually rituals help coping with a loss of anything, a loss of a relationship, of a job, of a beloved person, or a pet. So there is scientific evidence that it does help. Just helps us, you know, have even more compassion with our clients that ask all of those crazy special requests. What it does is it brings back some control. The hard thing with loss is a grief, is just you have no control. Whatever you do spend, you just cannot get it back. And this is very frustrating. So by organizing some kind of a ritual, people get some control back, and it really has an impact on how fast you're going to process your grief. So and then today what we're addressing, I'm excited because it feels like I found like the only nonsense left in vet med. I find we do such a great job in vet med. We do what we say what we do. I can explain you why we do this and how, and it all makes sense. But every day, even in the United States of America, vets let their clients leave the clinic with basically what is a biohazard. This pet full of pentobarbital can poison another domestic animal, a wild animal, will contaminate the water and or the soil. What's going on with us? And it's just like, oh, take care. Here's a tissue. I mean, what are we doing? It's so dangerous for everything we know and love. I don't know why we do that. So I ran into that data, you know, a bit with my experience in practice in a rural area where we did euthanize horses and cows and sheep and had farm dogs around it. And also looking into it after a couple of years where we had our first case of 2 farm dogs intoxicated with a after, you know, one morning they woke up, they're like, hey, let's go dig up the horses that were euthanized a couple of years ago and chew some bones and some hair and pass out and be brought to the clinic unconscious. Let's do that. So, and then, you know, I was a young vet at the time, and we kind of managed the situation, just gave some support care, and they made it. But not more attention was put into that case, and I just kept on going in my career. And then I put more emphasis into the end of life, and then found some studies. I'm like, how come nobody has ever told me about this? I mean, quite important, vital information I should know to go on with my career and protect my liability and the reputation of my profession and so on. But it's still happening that nothing is taught at school or by vet association whatsoever. So I'm here to prevent you from suffering from all of those things of a professional complaint or things like that, or just feeling responsible for that. So at the moment, most people don't give any written indications, or some clinics have a disclosure, but most of the time it's just like, oh, take care, and here's your pet and wrapped in some kind of random container or blanket or towel or food box, whatever, but it's too crazy. So what the studies show is, there are a couple that I draw for you today. So one study was done 2018 after 17 weeks, depending on the nature of the soil, there was 17% of the pento left in the sand. It's 4 months. They stopped the study after 4 months. We don't know what happened, but 17%, I mean, it's not that much, and again, depending if you dealing with a mastiff where you probably put 20, 25, maybe 40 cc's of pento, or a cat, that's not quite the same thing. But, I was thinking, preparing this lecture, when I do some painting and I wash my brushes with some chemical products, I mean, I'm not going to put it in my yard on my lawn. I'm not going to put it in the soil. I'm just going to try to, not contaminate anything and put it in the road or on the gravel or something, so it stays on the surface. But with pento, it's just like we think it's going to disappear by magic, like other medication that we use. But pento is super stable in the soil. So even if it's only 20% or 10% in the potting soil, it's still enough that you don't want to put that pento in the ground. And other studies show that it's even more stable than that and remnant. So another study that was done in 2015, I'm sorry, they're kind of old, like me, but I shouldn't say that. Then in California, they did measure the pentobarbital in a composting pile of equine carcasses, and over a whole year, they did not see a clear trend in the reduction of the pentobarbital. And they did actually found that the pento was leaching. Thank God they had a mattress that they had put an absorbing mat to protect the soil, but they could also find the pento in that mat. So it's another study showing that, oh, okay, it's more stable than we thought. That's an even older study from 1993, before I got to vet school. And that study done in Florida showed that they found traces of pentobarbital. They measured it by spectrophotometry in a stream 300 meters from a landfill where some pets at the time were buried. It was sent to the dump at the time before cremation was developed in North America. So, and then 20 years later, they could still find some traces of the pento. I mean, I cannot explain it to you, but this is what I found in that literature review. So why would we take that chance and just let these people improvise themselves as a funeral director? So by letting this happen, you expose yourself in your career minimally have one of those stories. And I was at the Emergency and Critical Care Conference in Europe in June. And over there, that audience knows it all about the pento, because they do get cases on a regular basis, much more than we do in general practice. And I had all those stories that were told to me by real vets, real time. It was just crazy. So I'm here today to help you prevent, those potential catastrophe that can happen to our clients and their family and their pets. So there was one story, somebody told me that they had euthanized a hamster and it was brought to the back, and then they had a giant lab come in just for a blood test, a blood sample to be taken, and you kind of tie up the lab and go get your gear, and then they turned back and he had eaten the hamster full of pentobarbital. Can you imagine the situation where you have to explain to the hamster owner that wants to take it back and to the lab owner what just happened? Okay, well that's not the worst one. One of the worst one I heard was in Germany. A bitch had a C-section. They ended up euthanizing the puppies. I don't know exactly why. The owner brought the puppies back. No written information. They're like, oh, our puppies, we're gonna put them in the yard, you know, so they're closer to us. Well, ends up like the next morning, she had eaten her puppies, passed out, and she had to be on ventilator. Oh my God. So it goes on. I gotta tell you one more story. Vet med. A dog is buried in the backyard. No indication how to do that. The next morning, the neighbor's cat, a cat, meow, meow, came in, dug up the dog. Okay, that's weird. The cat eats the dog. Full of pento, it's bitter. Why would they do that? I don't know. Passed out, is brought unconscious to the clinic. It could be the same doctor dealing with the cat that euthanized the dog. Stop it. We don't need this. Our life is complicated enough in vet med. So another study I needed to share with you, because in my career, I had that black dog I had to euthanize. And I think his name was Lucifer. I give him the bento dose. I'm in the vein. Nothing happens. He's not being affected by it. I'm like, what's going on? And I get more and more and more and more. And, you know, for years, I wondered what happened. And that was in the early 2000s. And I never understood what happened. I gave him like 10, 20 times and he finally passed out. But I found later on in my career a study showing that those dogs that were fed low quality diets were developing hepatic induction tolerance to the pentobarbital. That's why they were not affected. Can you believe this? It took me 10 years to understand. I had this case in my mind for all those years. So maybe the ones that are old enough, if it happened to you, that's what happened. Now in Canada, the farm animals that are euthanized are not allowed to go back in the food chain. But in the US, I'm not sure yet what is happening. That might be changing from one state to another. Just this last week, vet practice news was talking about this case of a dog that was safe from pento intoxication. This guy ate a goat that was home cremated by the owners. Didn't quite work, but this guy is fine. He was safe. But it's just, I think it's a topic that is going to be talked a little bit more in the future, hopefully. At euthabag.com, we do have a blog if you'd like to look it up, or other blogs. We have a lot of articles that could be of interest that you might want to share with your team or your clients on aftercare, end of life, and in this case on 4 dogs that didn't make it. So that was a bit of science. I didn't want to go into much details. There are more studies, but just I think you got the point here. And you know, nobody told you. It's not our fault. Then the AVMA came up with a companion animal aftercare policy in 2020. And I'm so glad they did, because I think we needed a bit of guidelines on aftercare, because otherwise, depending who you work for or with and what they think of aftercare, then we don't quite know where our responsibility ends or begins. So they made this clear. And the 3 aspects that they visit with this policy is the sensitive handling of pet remains, the crematorium choice, and the pre-planning. And so it's just something to rely on and to help you make the right choices. If you want to find this document, it's if you're a member of AVMA, you'll find it easily. Otherwise, you have to go on their website. But But just, in my experience, most vets have never been to a crematorium. So I really encourage you to just go visit the team you work with. It seems like we both evolved, the crematorium team and the vet team. We just we don't talk to each other much. And I think to me, it was such a game changer when I finally went there and visited and could see that it's something that is presentable, that those people are there for the good reasons. And then you're able to tell the clients, we work with this provider because their name is, and they do that because, and just like it makes you feel much more aligned with the family, because you're able to really guide them and tell the truth, rather than before that I was like, I hope they don't ask me too much details because I've never been there. And this is the worst thing for a vet, right? To be talking about something you don't know. We're not very used to that. So just the AVMA encourages to do that, because now they state that a vet could be responsible and held accountable for the aftercare provider you recommend or you picked for your clients. And the first time I visited that huge clinic in New York City that is on 12 stories at the Angel Memorial Center or something like that. I remember at the reception, they had a bunch of flyers on crematoriums. And while I was waiting for them to come and join me at the reception, I was looking at I thought, those Americans are so strange. How can they ask the client to pick the crematorium? I mean, it's so hard. But now I do understand, but it is a responsibility, and this practice at the moment decided it's not my choice. It's the clients, it's the families, to do the choice depending on their belief, their budget, their experience, or whatever. And so it kind of makes sense now that I understand more that it's something important for the people to be able to choose. And if we don't know what we are talking about, might as well tell them, pick it yourself. And the more and more people want to be, excuse me,
no.
they want to be involved more and more in those decisions. Here, just to show you real quick in 40 seconds how important it is, it's because our clients see that kind of a material on the TV. And then, they start wondering what's happening with their baby. And then sometimes we think they're so worried. Well, I don't blame them. Watch this.
Finding out your best friend's body set for weeks, decomposing, that's the kind of pain no pet owner should have to go through. We feel like we let her down because she's on a truck piled somewhere with a bunch of dogs, and it's hard, it's upsetting, because this is our baby. And we just want her back. And we're gonna fight for her, and we're gonna get her back. So whatever I gotta do to get her back, I'm gonna get her back. You see these cars parked out front. One of the drivers in there is Richard Smith. He says he is not leaving that spot until he comes back home with his dog.
Of course, because they had been waiting for the remains for over 2 weeks, and they're looking for their baby, and they went there and they found bunch of dogs, outside. They had a problem at the crematorium with the oven and with the cremation unit, and just want to give a face to these people, because it might be one of our patients, it's their baby. So it's just very important to know who you're working with. And I tell you, you're gonna feel much better after knowing what you're talking about. And I talk about cremation because I think it is a mean that is much safer than home burial in 2025, or Aquamation. But I think, to me, the home burial of euthanized patient is kind of obsolete. It's too risky. Why would we do that? Another aspect of the policy was the sensitive handling of pet remains is an important aspect. In my career, I've always seen pet professionals treat pets, but the most respect that you can do with a garbage bag or a cadaver bag, but it's hard. But at least now, it's stated that it is an important aspect. It's just not like accessory. And, our job is not only to make them feel better when they're alive, we also need to handle them with dignity and respect us and also the aftercare provider that we work with. And sometimes it's the case and sometimes it's not. And again, it's our responsibility as vet professionals. So many things we have to deal with. The deceased pets should be maintained in a condition suitable for return. And that's what transformed my career, because to me, before I saw that, it was not suitable for return. It's just not suitable to put a friend in the bag. It made me feel like I was working in the mafia. And I'm like, I studied so hard. I don't need to feel like I work in the mafia, you know? So families' expectation, that's probably why AVMA came up with this aspect of their policy, is most people care of how their pet's body is going to be handled. Whether they see it or not, they care, most of them. And it's interesting because there's been a study done on almost 2,000 pet owners in the US. One was just done, it was a survey we did in the US on 100 pet owners, and we did the same in the UK, same result throughout the world. 85% care, 15 don't care, which is makes sense. It's like that in almost every aspect of life. There's always a part of the audience that don't care about anything, body care or the environment or whatever. It's normal and it's good, but it's important to see that most of our clients care about that. It's their friend. And so we have to take that into account when we make the decision on how we're gonna dispose of their pet's body. So we should always handle in a sensitive manner. And I know you are all doing it, because we're here in VetMed because we love pets. This is why we do that. So I like this one. It's about prior planning, giving them the opportunity to decide on the options they have for the aftercare of their pets. Sometimes we keep this for the very last minute and we stuff so many things to talk about that last visit, including aftercare. So as much as you can, and studies show it again. In the UK did a study that showed that 60% of the pet owners that had just gone through euthanasia with their pet would have liked to have a pre-euthanasia consultation, just to, you know, make things clear, get rid of that guilt, understand the options, you know, prior to that storm, emotional storm they're going to experience on that last visit. And now the AVMA is telling you this, guys. You need to give them the opportunity to express their preferences. And for so many years, you know, I was there on the front desk asking the pet owner, do you want a golden plate or a silver plate for Fluffy? Communal or private cremation? No, because it's the thing you can only do once. And if you're not able to offer the right support, hand them to the specialist. You know, you don't have time. You don't like to talk about funeral stuff that much. Just invite your clients to look at the website of your provider, give them a call. You can go visit them as well. And your clients are going to be so thankful. You can also produce a document at your clinic that you can send by email prior, or just have as a handout the things they need to think about for that last visit and for after. It's just such a gift to provide this to your clients, because they walk into that experience not knowing what is going to be the next step. They're so frozen in guilt. You need your support. And a lot of that can be done by email and save you a lot of time if you include in there a couple of links or documents. And we have you covered at EuthaBag. We prepared a lot of those that you can just download on our website and include in your emails. And again, when we go back to what involves pentobarb or a home burial, it's our job to tell the family and not say only like, oh, you're not supposed to, but you know, good luck and do it deep enough. It's more than that. And AVMA in their euthanasia guideline makes it clear that it's our job to inform the client. And, you know, I just think, you know, try to be in their pants. Like they have no idea about this whole thing. So make sure that you're the information provider once again. But if you talk about this earlier on, it gives you a chance to provide better information. So that's from the guideline. Fail to provide this information, that their animal is potentially poisonous. How can they know this? They don't have the education. We're supposed to have it. We didn't get it at school either, but it's your job to do that. So I came up with a document that you can customize depending on the area you live in and how you want to phrase it, because that will change from state to state, but there are some baseline that you can use, on the depth. How deep does it have to be? Have you ever buried a pet yourself? I did before I was a vet. And it's not as easy as it looks. It depends where you live. Where I live, there are like massive rocks that does not allow me to, do a 1 meter deep hole. There's no way. There's rocks everywhere. So I also risked myself once to do it under a tree. I thought it was going to be so beautiful for my godmother's cat, Siamese cat, her daughter. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put her in the full of roots. I mean, there's no way I could make it deep enough. Ended up that, don't tell her, but I found the Siamese cat outside of the hole the next morning. Don't want this to happen to anybody. If they need to get an authorization from the government, from the states, from the city, from whatever, usually it's not anywhere allowed around the city or suburban. Again, I put that in my document. The distance from a water source. How can they guess that? Hey, you have a well? Of course I have a well. Make sure it's, 300 meters away from, oh, shoot, okay. So at the clinic, I was the only one addressing this with my clients. And I'm like, sorry, you're in front of the only vet that was going to go into details. I'm sorry to talk about this today, but, and they're like, oh, doctor, how much is private cremation? $300, $400. Oh, yeah, thank you so much. You bet. But you have to have the courage to address these details. Type of soil. One day I had to euthanize a poor 2-year-old girl. She was so fabulous. And the gentleman's like, yeah, I'm gonna bury her at home. I'm like, oh yes, where at? In the sandpit. I got a sandpit over there. And I'm like, no, you can't do this because you'll find her on the side of the road, half eaten by a coyote the next morning. And they're like, oh shoot, I've never thought about that. Of course, you cannot think about this. You're not an aftercare provider or a doctor. Thank you so much, doctor. They'll remember you and they'll be so thankful that you're the one that brought this information. The obligation to declare. Make sure you declare that you have buried a pet on your property if you sell your house. What? Yes. There's been a case in Quebec, probably a lot in the US as well, where the new owners found a skeleton in the garden and sued the person that has sold the property, and they won. Well, and then the family can go, why didn't the doctor tell me? Because we're responsible of everything. And then you could be just suggesting, have you thought of a cemetery? There might be a beautiful one in your area, and maybe not so close. Maybe it's 200 miles and they don't mind, but it's your job to say, have you thought of a cemetery? Oh, that's right. Oh, I had forgotten about it. Oh yeah, my grandmother used to, there are a lot of pet cemeteries in the US. Another study has shown that families rely on you guys to have the information on aftercare. So if you're not able to give it yourself, you have to refer them to the right people. You don't have to go into all of those details. You can send them to the cremation or aquamation provider. And again, EuthaBag comes as a solution when people are they want to do the home burial. Okay. There was this lady that said she had buried her rat in there, and the next morning she found her out, but she was intact in the bag. That's super important. On pentobarbital intoxication, so many testimonials on those closed Facebook groups I've seen. 4 dogs ingested the sheep carcass, and so many other things. Most of the time, it has to do with farm dogs that eat, or not farm, but dogs that eat food animal. But sometimes it's also another. I've heard that story. The family dog is buried in the garden, and the other dog digs up his friend, eats him. Dogs are crazy. I mean, they're dogs. Dogs are dogs. Then EuthaBag, is it biodegradable, or should you use something biodegradable to bury a pet? That is the $1 million question. It depends. What is your battle? So EuthaBag is not biodegradable, and you could go for a biodegradable option. And I'm talking here for a pet that was euthanized. If he just passed in the night, it's another story. When they are euthanized, well, do you want to bury something with pentobarbital that will leach into the ground, into the water source under, if it's the soil that allows that? So if it's clayish, it's different from if it is sandy, the speed at which the body fluids will reach the water. So do you want to keep it contained in something that is not biodegradable? So at least it does not contaminate the soil. Another contemporary trend is that people now bury their pet in their yard to keep it close, and then they split, and then they sell the house, and then they move back to Wyoming, I don't know. So they want to exhume the body and bring it somewhere else. What do they put it in? In a shoebox? In a Tupperware? I don't know. If it's in a EuthaBag, I think it's much nicer, because then they can get it cremated, keep the ashes, and So I had an email from a funeral director that said, "Oh, your EuthaBag is great, because usually I'm called to exhume the bodies, and so." And I have also seen on the at-home vets Facebook groups, people saying, "I've been asked to exhume bodies." Yeah, I've been asked too myself, so this might happen to you in the future as well. So depending on how you want to deal with this, it could be very nice to have the pet contained in something that is not biodegradable. It depends, it's not nice to put plastic in the ground, but I think it's worse to put pentobarbital. But it doesn't matter. If it depends what your priority is. I think you just need something reliable to transport the body, because you don't want your client's car to be full of body fluids of your choice. So just protect yourself, keep the situation more easy for you. You deal with enough things in a day. So yeah, those are the issues with the biodegradability as well. Now with the biodegradable plastic, because you need plastic to keep body fluids in. There are some microplastic, and then if you go for potato starch, well, then they do not keep well in your clinic. They're not resistant enough. So dealing with dead bodies is quite a science. So it's just depends what. So my recommendation is just go. Are you sure you want to bury your pet? There might be a cemetery, or do you know that crematorium? They do private. They also do communal. Blah blah blah. And just hand this to the specialist. This is not your favorite topic. Also, it allows you to keep, your morgue organized or look like a morgue, not like something else. And I feel for, all of those vet nurses I've had the chance to work with, the vet techs, they're just like so compassionate. And look at the bandages they make and everything they do to make the family understand that they get it, how hard and stressful it is to have your pup, break a leg or pass. So I find it such a tool. Like, how can we still ask in 2025 to have our compassionate vet techs do acrobatics to put a German Shepherd in a cadaver bag and be their hero? You know that they will not send you a card because you saved a parvovirus the puppy over the weekend. They might not even pay the bill. That's what happened to me. The only unpaid bill I have in my career was a parvo puppy I spent the weekend with, but with just a simple attention such as, would you like to put a word? Would you like to write the name of your friend on the bag and you feel that you're with him for the rest of the journey? They will be so grateful that you gave them the opportunity to feel that they were with their pet for the rest of the journey. It's just such a detail, and it shows how empathetic we are. Like, vet teams, incredible. But often when we are so compassionate and empathetic and perfectionist and everything else, people don't see it. It's in the treatment room. It's in the weekend when we brush them. It's when we warm up their food and sprinkle it with some liver to make it to make them eat. But when it's end of life, it's where we can glow and show how precious we are. I really think we're the best people on earth with some other kind of people. So yeah, the ritual, I told you about it. On the frame you see on the right is when my rescue guinea pig passed. I couldn't save him, and my daughters were so mad at me. They thought, you're a vet, but you're a bad one because you cannot save him. And it was like a big confrontation with them. And then we decided to just do some paw prints, and we got crazy over them, and we did like golden paw prints and a nose print and this and that, and it just lasts 15 minutes. And everything was gone. Everybody was in the same boat, celebrating our love of guinea pig, of that guinea pig in particular, Bubule. And it's game changer. And when you have a chance to involve the family, it just, they want to be part of it. And it can be inviting them to make a drawing, to leave a note, or to just be there when you're going to put their beloved pet in a sacred vessel. And this is where they want to close it and feel they're closing the chapter, and they are protecting their friend, because all of those years they've been protecting him from hunger, from cold, from anything. And when they just see this pet on a stainless steel table on a blanket, and they leave and they just see him like that, and then they get into their car or they get home, like, what are they going to do with him? Because they might not ask you, but then they wonder, and they saw this thing on TV, like, oh, I hope they're not going to send it. I had a at-home vet tell me that when the elderly lady saw the EuthaBag, and then she said, oh my God, I can trust you. Look at what you're using. To her, the rest of the story was going to make sense because she was putting it in something that made sense, not just the box or blanket or just on the table. Devil is in the details in end of life. There's so much interpretation, so many emotions. Also, to involve the family, you can sometimes hand a stethoscope. You know how people wonder, is he really gone? Are you sure, doctor? Do you want to listen? Not for everybody, but I've done it a couple of times. Or I had a lady, I'm like, would you like to write a note? Maybe a letter that we could put in the bag? And she was so happy. She wrote a whole love letter on the back of the bag. It made me feel like a superhero. I'm a JP. I need some some of those stories to make my day worth. So as I told you, my mission is, yes, I do market a body bag. I'm the crazy body bag lady, but it's all like the mission about, I suffered so much from not having the tools, feeling that I was not providing the experience people deserved. And so all of those resources that you see here, you can find them on our website. Just click, download, use it, have fun, and help us continue our mission and support you. I have some vets that contact me. I have a rat. I need to euthanize a rat. How do I do that? And I was there. I'm like, Dr. Celine, can you euthanize a rat? I've got somebody. Yes. What am I going to do? Send them to Montreal, an hour away from? No, I'll figure it out. And then it's not much information that we all almost even have a support group, a euthanasia support group that people can give you their tips. I mean, we're full on. That's a handout we came up with to save you some time. 27 questions on aftercare. How is it going to happen? What's the difference between this and that? All this stuff you don't want to talk about. And all this stuff people need and deserve to know. It's their baby, and it's once in a lifetime. You can send it by email. You can have it on your website. Put our website on your website. It's win-win. I also did another one lately. I always think it's finished. I don't have anything else to produce to make, but yes, I did this one. Help map the experience for the client. So that will save you time the day of. They're not like, what is it gonna happen? What are they gonna poison my pet? They're gonna inject, give it in the mouth. Like they have no idea. And it's like, this is how it's gonna happen, guys. And then they read this. Different family members are there. They can talk about it. Voila. I had so much stuff to say. I was worried to run out of time. So here I am. I'm ready for your questions now. Do we have any questions?
We do. And thank you, Dr. Slynn. That was excellent. We have quite a few questions, so I'm going to suggest we go rapid fire and try to get through as many of them as possible. Okay, so first we have Becky Carter, who said, my friend had a horse euthanized that was buried 7 to 8 feet deep, but over the next few days we found spots of foaming blood bubbling out of the ground in some areas. She had multiple horses buried in the same soil, mostly clay, Becky notes, and this has never happened before. Any ideas what might have caused this?
Yeah, and a super good question. It's going to be hard to have a precise answer because I questioned an undertaker, an aftercare specialist on the human side, and like, how long does it take to decompose? He's like, it depends on the climate you're in, what time of the year, what kind of soil, the body's condition. Was he fat? Did he die of a septic, of a bacterial infection? Was it viral? Metabolic? So I don't know what happened. Probably there's something with the microbiome and the flora that was involved in the climate conditions, maybe that were not the same as usual. And yeah, I'm sorry, but I would not be able to explain why the foaming happened and it came out of the like 7 feet. And then, did a wild animal went in there and dig something up and, made an opening with the surface? Probably, but I don't know. I'm sorry about that. I have no more idea than that.
Yeah, sounds like an unusual situation. Thanks for the question, Becky. Karine is saying, what about burying the ashes privately? Any residues?
Yeah, I think this is great. To me, it's a great solution. That said, again, it's the science of death, right? The art of euthanasia. I was in France, and over there, the remains of communal cremation have to be disposed in a technical center, like in a kind of technical landfill, special landfill. And in the US, you see that, ashes are scattered, and they have often the cremation services have their own kind of garden and so on. And then I'm like, oh, Frenchies, why are you so stuck up on ashes? And, why would you put that in a landfill? People don't want that. And then they told me, and then I looked it up, and it's about the microchip. Microchip have heavy metals in them. And so if you don't remove the microchip, I don't think who does remove a microchip, like you cannot do that, right? Then the ashes are contaminated. I think that if there is no microchip, then I would not see a problem. In Europe, most pets are microchip. It's not the case in the US. So that because it looks like the pentobarbital is very much destroyed by the flame cremation. I'm not sure about the water aquamation. I do not know the answer for that. So yeah, that would be my answer to this.
Gotcha. Okay. Appreciate the question, Colleen. We have Susan who asked a couple of questions here, and it feels linked to what you were just talking about, Dr. Celine. But she had some concerns about the disconnect between corporate crematory prices and rural owner budgets, and a thought around saying that home burial is obsolete is challenging and potentially problematic in the world that most of us are operating in.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for bringing me back to reality. Yes, and this is something new. This is something we did not hear of, maybe 2 years ago. The prices have gone up because of consolidation in the cremation area, and because the economic situation is tougher than it used to. Then in Greece last year, I met the first vet that told me when I know they're going to go for home burial, I change my protocol and I don't use pentobarbital. I was so impressed. So she would use, and I have a webinar on alternate protocols, with Epsom salt and potassium chloride. But if we're using pentobarbital, so what's more important? Is it the possible contamination of the soil, water, or intoxication of another pet or wild animal, or how much it's going to cost to the client because of consolidation? I mean, this is our life being a vet. I mean, what do? I don't know. So there's no easy answer. And to make it even more complicated for you, check on the margin that is made on cremation. So sometimes it's not so much the aftercare provider, it's how much the practice decides to mark it up. So I mean, there's no right answer for this. And especially in the US, it varies so much. You can get, and I double checked today, prices of private cremation to vet clinics, is around $200. For communal, it can be anywhere from $15 to $40. So, I mean, I don't know. Good luck. But do your best, forget the rest. What can you do? But adapting your protocol for home burial could be your solution. Because, well, you went through that in the US. You didn't get that in Europe, but there was a shortage of pentobarb, and we figured it out. So there are ways to do it. It's just a little more complicated for us.
Right. Thanks for the question, Susan. There are a few more here, so we'll rattle through a couple others. And then for those that we don't get to, we'll follow up with you individually after this. But great to see so many questions coming through. Anonymous is asked, there's a farm sanctuary in my state that does burial on property. I asked founders if they inquired with town. They said they did. One of them is a founder and medical doctor, PhD, and they bury 6+ feet deep using a tractor. Some animals are humanely euthanized, including equine. Even if buried deeply, I cannot help but be concerned. So it sounds like a bit more of a comment there than a question.
Yeah, and I agree. Probably they just didn't think about that. If they're not vets and did not look into the pentobarb or didn't have the clinical experience of dealing with toxicosis, and the states don't ask anything about that because they don't know about the pentobarb problem. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Even in countries like Germany, they just did not include anything around the pento in their legislation. The only country I've seen that is so square with home burial is Croatia. Croatia. They're like, no home burial. We can't do this. It's too dangerous. Okay. Well, finally. Okay. And they go around it.
Interesting. That's a fun fact.
I mean, home for euthanized pets. Yes.
Rondo is asking if we can get a copy of the sheet to give clinics On Aftercare, yes, we will send an abundance of resources in the follow-up email, including EuthaBag's resource library.
Yeah, and go check it out on the website. There might be other ones that I did not mention that would be of use for you.
Great. In our 5 remaining minutes, Amanda is asking, how does Aquamation eliminate the risk of contaminating the environment with pentobarbital? Where does the water go that was used in the process?
Yeah, oof, such a question. Concerning pentobarbital, I'm sorry, I don't know. I have to ask somebody. I have no idea if that was taken in account when the legislation, state by state, it's different in every state. So I don't know. I'm sorry, I have no answer for this at the moment.
Yeah, no worries.
I will have to ask Honor Pet or Shea Cox or Kathy Cooney.
Got it. Okay, so we can follow up on that. And then
And learn.
Alette is asking, how do you handle the wording around, would you like me to put Fluffy in blank?
Yeah.
Would you like to do the closure? I find that itself is a ritual, but not everyone wants to do that.
Yeah,
From a home.
agree to agree. Yeah, because myself, I was in this situation. I was too timid. I was too worried of the reaction of the clients. I wouldn't say anything. And then one day I'm like, I'm gonna try this, and I'm just like, okay, so that your pet is gonna be placed in a whatever you use. If you use something you can talk about. So myself, I would say I'm gonna put him in a designated body bag. Where he's going to be all by himself. Because for a lot of people, it's important, that they don't want their pet to be like on another pet and like it's going to be by himself. And then if you like, you can be with me when I place your animal in it or not. Like it's your experience, it's your choice, no worries. Half of them say, yeah, I want to be there. And the other half are like, no, I don't want to see that. And I'm like, yes, this is your experience. This is what's going to stay in your head. So you pick. And then it's just natural. I don't even tell them, you can close the bag. I'm like, yeah, so I place him, rear end first, and then front end, head. And then they go and close it themselves. So that's how it happens to me. And then when I want to offer them to decorate, I have like a basket with a handout that is also on the website saying, hey, you could leave a note to your pet, while the sedation is taking effect. Sometimes they don't know what to do, and you don't know what to do with them. It gives them something to do while, for a dog, it can take 20 minutes. For the sedation, sometimes half an hour. So that's how I phrase it myself.
Great. Thanks for that, Dr. Celine. We have 2 minutes left, so I'm just going to close off with 2 comments here that I think are quite fitting and then pass back to you, Dr. Celine. So the first one is from Edith. She says, thank you so much for your time, compassion, and enthusiasm. And David says, no question here, but I just want to say you do an incredible job, Celine, bringing focus and answers on a part of our job we feel so uncomfortable about, increasing transparency and trust from owners towards us. Bravo.
Can you do a screenshot for me? Like it's so important. Sometimes I think I just have a mental disease. I have an OCD on end of life. I'm like, man, I'm just sick, but when I read this, I'm like, okay, keep on going, Celine.
Yeah, definitely a few comments in here about the great work you're doing and the information you shared with us today. So very much appreciate it. But I'll hand to you and then we can wrap things up here. And for everyone that's on the call, you'll get a recording. We'll share a link to the recording and additional resources as well as the CE certificate after this webinar.
Yeah, so if you want to learn more on euthanasia and basically all of that comment, we have, I think, 7 credits. It's all the mistakes I've done. Everything I did wrong, I made, something like a training out of it. And there were so many things I was doing wrong, and it's fun. It's fun, and the outcome is just you feeling better and around this, and actually seeing euthanasia as like, oh, cool, I've got a euthanasia, mental break. I'm not gonna wonder if I forgot. I mean, we're gonna go to the end, and I'm gonna feel like a super champion. So this is what is my goal with this CE platform. You can flash that code and request a free sample of EuthaBag, so you can feel it. Where is it? Oh, I always have one handy. I put my makeup in it or my bathing suit when I go on a holiday for that last dip. Oh yeah, by the way, we have a super cool promo until the end of the year, until December 15th. If you order $400 of EuthaBag, you can be going to the Osa Peninsula in Costa Rica, where we have a reforestation project. So you can get this promo through your distributors, First Vet, NWI, Jorvet, and Midwest. And the price of a EuthaBag, it ranges from $5 to $19, and you just blend this into the cost of your services. And you know, we've done that for 10 years in Canada, and people don't complain. And the ones that complain, they would have complained anyways, you know how they are. We also got some promo codes if you want to take a screenshot, you know, interesting to get started. Just go for it, try it. Money back guarantee, man. I just want to help you guys. I'm with you, and you need this product in your clinic to feel better and be aligned with your client's expectations. So jorvet.com, and you get those coupons only at jorvet.com. If you want to order through your distributor, you've got the Costa Rica promo. I love this sentence. If the doctor treats men, remember that the vet team treats mankind. This is why you're tired at night, because you take care of the people and their pets, their life and their death and everything else around it, plus their money, their budget, and their schedule. So you're just incredible. Merci beaucoup. And I'm lecturing a green light at my computer. I don't see your faces. And so if you want to put some comments so I can do better in the future and continue to be motivated, put it in there. Here's to you, Mike.
Appreciate it. And thanks again, Dr. Slynn. Excellent session. For those of you who we didn't get to answer your questions in the chat here, we'll follow up afterwards. But stay tuned for more CE approved webinars moving forward, and have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you all.